Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Talkin Gimmicks podcast. This is Julio and my partner in crime, Joey. Joey, what's up?
Julio, it's been quite a while, man. How are things going?
Yeah, I know it's been we've been pretty active on Twitter these weeks, but I've just had to be a grown up for a couple of weeks, so it's been pretty rough in terms of time and energy for this, but we still did some toy spotting. We still did some other stuff. And we're going to catch up on that a little bit today. We're also going to talk about our retro wrestling episode, which was, I think it's the worst one we've done since we started these podcasts. We'll get into a little more detail about that. It's a WCW NITRO from 1999. And
Yeah.
And then that's kind of, we're going to make a shorter version, not getting too many recaps of current events in terms of wrestling, just because we're still catching up on current events for wrestling. I've like this week, all I watched our retro wrestling episode. I watched a little bit of the New Japan Cup just because Naito is the man. That's about it. I kind of missed the Raw, missed Roadblock, and that kind of stuff. How about you, Jay?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch too much wrestling this past week myself. Caught a little bit of Roadblock last night. Other than that, I had a decent week of toy spotting though. That's for sure.
Yeah, if you guys follow our Twitter account, the past couple of weeks have been booming, especially from Joey's end and with figures and such. I haven't had as much luck just because we're kind of always. I mentioned in previous episodes, we're kind of late to these parties in terms of our stores getting all the stuff. But I did get some cool stuff this week too. Not as much as Joey in terms of volume, but we did get some cool stuff. So we'll start with you, Joey. What did you find this week? I know there's a lot of series, different toy lines out there in terms of WWE. There's the new Hall of Fame, the new some of the Toys R Us exclusives, some pops. There's a lot of stuff going on. So let's start with you. Like, what did you find or buy this since we've been on a kind of mini hiatus?
Yeah, I found a lot in these last few weeks. I actually got to save some for next week, but Toys R Us, I had the luck of finding the WWE Network Spotlight Big Boss Man, which they put out a Triple H like this also, but I didn't really like the Triple H, so I just grabbed this Boss Man here. I mean, it's a new style elite packaging.
Are you just talking about this boss man?
Oh, the same one you got there. Yeah, nice. It's a nice one, man. I really enjoy this one.
Yeah, like this was something because I remember you and I we exchanged some tweets too and some texts about it because it hit first here in Houston, which is odd. And I saw the Triple H that you referenced. That I mean, you got to be a pretty big Triple H fan to what? I mean, to get into that, just because it's the Hunter Hearst Helmsley Elite. So it's when he's being all he's a blue blood type deal. It's not. I didn't like it, so I didn't buy it, and I know you didn't like it either. Um, but yeah, that was one of my pickups too, because I remember it hit the stores first, and unfortunately, that same day I was at the Toys R Us. They had a Kevin Owens basic, the first in the line basic, but the packaging was just too busted, and I had to pass on it, and I haven't seen another since, which kind of sucks. But let's talk about this Boston. I know you were talking about the packaging and some of the new stuff there. What else you got in terms of the Boston? Yeah.
As far as the Boss Man goes?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I like the accessories, I come with this one. Compared to the Triple H, seems real plain, to me. With just like the cane or whatever else he's got there. Because I have the old Hasbro, this figure. somewhere. I don't think it's real close by, but I mean, it's real funny compared to this one, you know. I kind of like the packaging in this with the WWE logo in the background, you know, the way it's red and black now. And I like how they're sticking with the same box, you know, from Elite 39 and up now. And
Right.
I also grabbed the Target exclusive.
Before you move on to the $1 Million Man, I just had a couple things with this Boss Man.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool figure. I used to like the Boss Man when I was a kid because I mean, when you're a little kid, you see this cop like kicking ass, and you're like, yeah, it's a cool guy. He's got his little stats there in the back. Cobb County, Georgia. He's a big dude, 6'7". And the cool thing I like about this is the ring attire. It tells you from what show this was. This is May 27th, Saturday Night Main Event, 1989. And then there's some highlights there in terms of the WWE Network, because this is a WWE Network Spotlight Elite figure. The one funny thing, and I don't know if you noticed, Joey, if you look at his picture, and if you look right there, he still has the Confederate flag patch. If you remember back in the day, he had the Confederate flag patch, and I know that's been a hot topic over the past year or so. This podcast is not really about dissecting that, but I just thought it was funny, and I thought it was an interesting oversight maybe from the people who put this together, because it was a hot topic, and it's been something that's been kind of hotly debated over the past year or so. So I thought maybe they would have photoshopped that out or cleared that out for the packaging, but they left it, which, I mean, I thought that was pretty interesting. But overall, I think this is a great figure. Toys R Us exclusive, so you're going to only see this at True. I say pick it up. We both got it. I think it's a really good figure and, a really nice addition to our collections.
Yeah, I definitely recommend grabbing this if you see it retail.
And the other thing, just one more thing there. I saw a lot of like when I went to Toys R Us, they had like I told you, like 6 or 8 boss fights. And then I went to another Toys R Us a couple days later, and they had a bunch of boss fans and a bunch of Triple H's. So right now is a good time to go get one, because as things go, if you see it out there, get it, because you may not see it later, is my point. Or you'll see it later with a little bit of a price hike. But I think it's a good one. All right, what else you got, Jay?
Hey, let's see here. Target releases a Hall of Fame set a couple times a year. This is Hall of Fame set 3, Ted DiBiase. This has been hard to find. I've only really seen this one time in the store and grabbed it the second I did. And also grabbed another one from this line. I'll talk about that in a minute. But this is a nice one. Has the $1 Million belt, briefcase, the basketball from when he used to trick the kids. I figured they'd throw that in there as a nice accessory. They also have a Macho Man in this line, but I passed on the Macho Man because I have a couple Macho Mans. Yeah, I don't know. I have like 3-4 different Macho Mans, so I'm trying to slow it down a little bit and not buy so many of each guy, because this is my first DiBiase. Because in the way I look at it is, every time I've been in the store, I've only seen Macho Mans, and I've only seen this once, so I grabbed this. Nice figure. My first DiBiase. Also,
I like the accessories on that DiBiase. It's like a $1 Million belt and all that stuff.
Yeah, the briefcase. It makes me feel like you're getting your money's worth, when there's a couple more things in there.
Yeah, and especially with a figure like, if DiBiase didn't have any eccentric, his ring gear was pretty straightforward. So it's cool when you get those like wrestlers who have like really basic gear, get all those thrones and all those accessories. So you mentioned you got DiBiase in that line, you got Macho Man, and I think in the third guy you got, and that's you got that right there, right?
Yeah.
Is Jimmy Hart?
Yeah, Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. I had to grab this one when I seen this one. with a nice heart jacket, megaphone.
South to south.
Classic figure, sunglasses. Actually, when I was at the store at Target, there was 2 of these, but one was missing the sunglasses. But I don't know if somebody took them, because you think if they would have took them, they would have took the megaphone too. But unless it was a factory error, but I made sure to grab the one with sunglasses, and not too much more to the figure itself, but I had to grab this one for Jimmy.
I think those Hall of Fame lines are really cool. Like the Target Hall of Fame lines. Like I grabbed an Eddie Guerrero from the last line, and I think they had a Sergeant Slaughter and some other ones. And I think they're cool, especially for us older fans that got to see in their heyday the Jimmy Harts and the $1 Million Mans and all those guys. So I think it's a good callback for our generation of wrestling fans. You may talk to someone much younger who may not have seen Jimmy Hart other than whatever he can for WWE Network.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I had to add this to the collection. You don't see this too often.
We don't get a lot of managers, at least recently, because if the classic superstars, there was a lot of managers in that one, right?
Oh yeah, there really was. They had a variety of stuff in the classic superstar line.
That line is, I think, might be the best in terms of maybe not quality of the figures, but just the deep cuts in terms of some of the figures they released.
Yeah, there's definitely some real obscure ones for sure, and which leads me to. It's a good point, because it leads me to another purchase I made.
Man, we've been killing it this podcast. Like I think that break really helped us, because we've been segueing.
Yeah,
pretty good.
This is gonna make some fans happy here. Timely figure purchase, the Shane O'Mac classic superstars packaging, like you were talking about. This was from eBay. There was actually 2 on there, and my friend got one and I got one. So it's kind of costly, but I mean, with his return, I had to grab this while I could.
And that packaging, like, it's in really good condition, right?
It is. It's really nice shape. I mean, this style of box holds up pretty well. I've been going back and buying quite a few of these on eBay, and
yeah,
they're just classy looking with the black and gold.
I think that's a sweet series, and the packaging, like you said, holds up pretty good. Like the only thing I see, even in good packaging, in the front window, the cardboard to each of the sides, will sometimes like warp. But that's a great line, and I'm kind of jealous of that figure, to be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely a sweet figure. I think that's a European title that he comes with. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that is European Championship.
Well, it's funny how those things with Shane O'Mac, because when you think of the Attitude Era, sure, he's pretty iconic from there, but it's not one of the guys you think off the bat. You'll go Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, DX. But Shane O'Mac, like I went back and watched. I did go back and watch like highlights and videos. He's crazy as hell. Like he did some of the craziest spots in that era.
Yeah, he really did, man. I don't think you get enough credit for some of the stuff that he did do.
And at the same time, I'm kind of excited and also scared for his well-being of what he's going to try to do at WrestleMania.
Yeah. He's going to give it hell. I mean, I'm excited for it.
I am too. And I mean, also, WrestleMania being here in the state of Texas, and I'm not going, that's a whole different conversation. I've got some other trips and just really couldn't do WrestleMania this year. But it's gonna be there's gonna be a lot of stuff going on. Not just the WWE, but all the other shows. So I'm a little bit jealous of those who will be going. Also, I might need to call in some favors if there's any merch that grabs my attention. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I think that Shane O'Mac is a really timely and nice addition to your collection.
Yeah, that really was. Figure of grab it now because I'm sure the price
It'll,
would go up only
yeah,
around Mania, you know.
it'll only go up right now with the
Yeah.
popularity of him coming back. I might see if I snag one. I might
Yeah.
scour eBay if I can snag one before it gets too crazy.
No, for sure, man. I don't blame you. Let's see here. What would you get? I got some other stuff, but I mean, you had a couple other things.
So I picked up one of the new Pops, the new WWE series that came out. Well, not that new. It's not that new. I just hadn't seen them in a while. I say new. But I saw Ultimate Warrior Pop. They had the new John Cena, and they had the page you had mentioned. And the only one I really wanted was the Warrior. So I got that. I think it's one of the nicer, one of the cooler ones. Because from this series, I've got all five. But out of those five, I think the Warrior is the coolest one.
Yeah, I saw that at Toys R Us with the Cena too.
The Cena one's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's got like a hat forward, I think, right, or something like that.
Yeah. And then this month's Wrestle Crate, I tweeted a picture of the stuff I got, but figures wise, they threw in one of these, which I'm totally okay for because in the previous Wrestle Crate, they had sent out the Nikki, and now they sent out the Bree. So now I have both. I've mentioned previously that I really don't collect a lot of Diva stuff, but if I were, these are pretty cool. The two Bellas wearing the matching yellow gear. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And then that brings me to this battle pack right here, which is I know you tweeted out some pictures of this new series, but it's the Then Now Forever battle pack series. Um, bringing stars from different eras, I guess, is the whole thing. And I picked up this Killer Sting and Ultimate Warrior, and I guess the whole theme here is like, and it says right here in the back, Brothers in Paint. And it has the Winged Eagle heavy title in there too, so I think this is a pretty sweet series. And
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
I grabbed a couple. Yeah, I grabbed two of those myself when I seen them. That's the hardest one to find. I know there's Pillman, Ambrose, which is pretty cool, and Cena, Austin. Yeah, the Sting Warriors definitely real classy looking with the Winged Eagle white championship, like you were saying.
And the detail in these guys, because usually in these battle packs you get, I guess, what would be equivalent to basic.
Probably.
They're really nice. At least this set, like the details, like the face cam for Warrior and the paint apps. It's a really nice looking battle pack. And then, as you mentioned in the back, you've got Cena, Stone Cold, and Ambrose with Brian Pillman, which I was like this close to getting just because of the Brian Pillman. But I've got like 3 Dean Ambroses, and the same thing that you did with Macho Man. I was like, shit, I don't know if I can. I've already got too many Dean Ambrose figures. For some people, they might just say, "Hey, you can never have enough Dean Ambrose figures." But in my case, I'm like, yeah, you can't have enough Dean Ambrose figures.
Yeah. The have you seen the basic line of that Then Now Forever yet down there?
I haven't, and I know you grabbed a bunch of those, right?
I grabbed the whole set of those, but I might have to tease that and save that for next week, though, because you can only show so much in 1 week here. I still got a couple other things here. You grab anything else, or is that about it for you?
Figures wise, that's about it. But since this is a gimmicks podcast and not a figures podcast, uh, I picked up, well, via trade, this guy right here. I just want to do it justice because it is a badass card. So it's
Nice.
an Ishii Kimpuro card. I think this is from Series 16 or 15, the one from Wrestle Kingdom. And I traded this for an AJ Styles, and I traded it to Angela, who is at a comic book girl on Twitter. I really pushed it because I know I'm a big Ishii fan, and the AJ Styles card was badass. It was like he was doing the springboard forearm, and it's like one of the rare ultra shiny, and this one's rare and ultra shiny too. But I'm like, hey, and we made the trade. She sent it along with some other, a mixed bag of stuff, cool stuff like a Mr. Met figure, pop figure, and some other stuff that I tweeted out. But this was I think this is my favorite thing I got in these past couple of weeks, to be honest.
Nice, man. That's pretty cool.
That's all I got this week.
Well, let's see here. I got the companion to your Brie and Nikki from the Total Diva line and the Pop Funkos. I told myself I was going to stop buying these, but I came around the corner. Toys R Us had opened. I think it was Saturday, and I seen it. I just grabbed it right away because it's not just for me. My girl likes these things, and yeah, I figured I'd grab. I'm a fan of Paige. $10. Can't beat it. And one other item off of eBay. TNA figure.
Hey, you kind of blurred out when you were showing the page.
Oh, okay. Did I?
Yeah, so the beauty of live podcasting.
Well, I did pick up the Pop Funko page.
All right, that's pretty cool. I saw that too at Toys R Us and wasn't able to. I didn't pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, I told myself I'd stop buying them, but I'm a fan of Paige, so figured I'd grab it.
Cool.
One other thing I grabbed off eBay. TNA figure. I think it's my first TNA figure, actually. Signed Samoa Joe from the ROH Farewell Tour. I don't know if these were available at. Yeah, this is cool. I don't know if it was available at the ROH shows only. I'm not really sure, but definitely pretty cool. I don't know if it's like a TNA Elite or what, but kind of what it seems like.
That's a sweet figure. To be honest, I'm like you. I'm not familiar with the TNA figures. I have one, and it was in one of the first Wrestle crates. It's a Bully Ray, but Samoa Joe is way cooler than Bully Ray.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with TNA figures. It looks like Marvel Toys made these, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, comes with the X Division trophy and a towel, signed by Samoa Joe. Another signed figure to add to the collection.
Nice.
Wasn't cheap, but nothing ever is in this world. You know, it's an expensive game.
Especially, exactly. Like, yeah, especially the older stuff. If you miss the boat on the older stuff,
yeah,
you're gonna have to drop a little bit of money. You're gonna have to drop a little bit of money. That's why I guess we're out there on the hunt trying to get stuff as they come out.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing. Kind of a lesson is if you see something you want now, if you see it, grab it because you don't know if you're going to see it again, and you don't want to pay more down the line for it. So grab it while
I
it's out.
have to talking before the show as we were going over the show notes. The British Bulldog, like the Mattel WWE Legends, and that figure is so expensive. And I remember seeing him in the stores before I started collecting, and now I regret it because the reason I want that Bulldog figure is he comes with the Heart Foundation vest. It's the same one, the same like logo that the Bret Hart defining moments from that era of the Heart Foundation, and it says Bulldog, and I thought that'd be pretty cool, but haven't found one for a price I'm willing to pay just yet.
Yeah, those are a little costly. I mean, unless you can find one at a Goodwill or VOA type of deal, like I happen to find some sort of gimmick. Well, not me personally, but my buddy. He went to some local Goodwill Salvation Army type gimmick and bought a bag of just loose figures, and I don't think the people know what they had. So he sold this to me for $5. The old Dusty Rhodes Mattel Legends Series 1, I believe.
Polka Dot Dusty.
Which, yeah, polka dot, no bandana though, which is kind of a letdown. But in this condition right here, it's probably worth about $45 to $50. So I don't think the people quite knew what they had when they were just giving it away. I'd like to know what else was in the bag. But it's another loose figure for the collection. Which I don't have too many, so.
Another snag. Oh, you back, Jay?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm going through eBay right now, and that figure loose, it's like buy it now at $37. Without the bandana. With the bandana, 50, and then mint on card 90.
Yeah, I mean
90, 75.
Yeah, these old figures, I mean, they hold their value big time.
I'm looking for the British Bulldog just out of curiosity.
Yeah, that's
Joey,
definitely not a cheap figure at all.
I thought there was a Terry Funk from that series.
There may be one. I'm not too familiar because I know there's some sort of Matty collector gimmick that was also something like that came out through Ringside Collectibles at some point. I'm really not sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Bulldog, and it's $35 loose, and then there's $55. Anyways, yeah, that's a pretty sick series. Another good segue from into that fig. Else you got this week you want to share before we move on to our retro wrestling?
I think that's pretty much it for this week. I'll save some stuff for next week.
All right. It was a pretty good week, even for me, for the amount of time I was able to look for figures. I got some pretty cool stuff. I'm definitely still out in the hunt for the Finn Balor Basic, some of the Sami Zayn Elite. You know, there's some stuff out there that I still want. The KO Basic and the WWE Hall of Fame Target exclusives are others that definitely on my radar as I travel. I'll be traveling this week. I'm at some of the shops up in Denver, like some Walmarts or whatever to see what they have. But yeah, it's usually been successful. The last time I found, I went to Jacksonville and I got the Bulldog and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes. Are you looking for, what are you trying to hunt down right now? What are you looking for?
Basic, let's see here. Sasha Banks, basic 59, which I've seen the line hit, but I mean, every time I get there, she's gone. Elite 40, Sami Zayn, which I've seen. Do you have a Walgreens where you are?
Yeah.
Every now and then, I go into Walgreens and I see like an Elite 40, but it's not Zayn. It's like Umaga or Tyson Kidd or John Cena. But they've been hitting Walgreens. Other than that, I haven't really seen too many of Elite 40 here yet. So basically, Elite 40, Sami Zayn, and Sasha Banks basic. And then once Finn Balor Elite 41 comes out, I'll grab one of those. But that's going to be for a little bit.
Yeah, and that is one that if you see it, grab it, because that figure is going to be expensive.
Yeah, grab 3 or 4 if you honestly see him.
I mean, this podcast does not promote scalping.
No.
But jokingly, but you could make some money if you were to find some Finn Balor's. Just leaving it at that.
Yeah.
Or get one for a friend. There you go. Yeah. But yeah, those are some good things. That's kind of the same list. Obviously, the Sasha aside, yeah, it's that kind of stuff that I'm looking for. So we'll see. We'll see if we find them. I know you guys get stuff before we do. So I think, like I said, pretty good week in terms of toy spotting. I know. I think one of my next purchases is probably going to be some more Kimpuro cards because I really like them. So I'm going to buy some Kimpuro cards probably this week. That's it for our hunt for this week. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about our retro wrestling episode this week, which I picked, and I apologize to you, Joey, because it was really bad. Which was a WCW NITRO from Memorial Day 1999.
From Houston, Texas.
Which I didn't realize. I didn't, just sheer coincidence that was the one that I happened to pick, just because I didn't know it was in Houston. But yeah, you can tell, like, when they start the show and you see the roof of the building, and it's it's the iconic Astrodome roof ceiling. I mean, and then you're like, yeah, that's Houston. So just for starters, that's ballsy, and that's, I guess, the era of wrestling that we were in, where they could have a Monday night show at the Astrodome, which used to sit like 65,000 people.
Yep, WCW in their heyday.
Yeah, and this is Monday Night Wars, when WCW was starting to realize they were losing. They had already realized they were losing at this point. They were trying to rally, but yeah, WCW in 1999, those were pretty bad, and I didn't remember how bad they were until I sat down and watched it. And I know, Joe, you texted me a couple times. You texted me that you fell asleep 2 times trying to watch this thing.
Oh man, there was just a lot to process in that, which they said was 3 hours. I mean, back then, but I don't know how long it was, like, broken out with no commercials. I'm really not sure.
It was 2 hours and 16 minutes.
Okay.
Without the commercials, but it was like you said, it was the 3 hour format at this point.
Yeah, it was a long episode, that's for sure. It started out with a highlight video from, I believe, probably the week before his Nitro, which was long in itself, which just kind of hard to process everything there from the get-go,
Yeah, it was like to your point, you know, it starts off with a bang. It starts off with like the highlights or like a video package that's long, if not more, of what had happened at the previous Nitro, the previous Thunder, and all sorts of crap's happening. There's so much stuff going on. I really like you said, heard some of it, but you know, a lot of storylines, a lot of stuff with the Horsemen and Macho Man. Stuff. It's even Raven getting his butt kicked by DDP and Bam Bam Bigelow. There was like so many storylines. It looks like they didn't know what to do. They were just throwing wrestlers and storylines at the crowd and trying to see what stuck. Is kind of how that felt. So from that we go on to the Nitro Girls, and then just before that, the intro. This is when it had already changed. Like the logo changed, the intro to Nitro changed. Because I like the original intro to Nitro that had like, you know, the streets and like the videos of the wrestlers, and it had that like the Nitro theme song.
Yeah.
And then I've forgotten how sucky it was when they changed it to the one they had in '99. I think they changed it like at late '98 some point, maybe late '98. So let's start with the Nitro Girls, who, I mean, I don't. It's funny. It's like it was like the WCW, their own cheerleaders, kind of, you know. And I remember when I was a kid and I'd watch it, like, oh yeah, these girls are kind of hot. But it kind of feels out of place. Like, could you imagine now what Twitter would be like if when a wrestling promotion has a dance team opening up a show? It'd get torn up.
Nah, I agree for sure. It definitely kind of, because I mean I'm a lot different in age now than I was then, so it's like looking back, definitely a different perspective looking at the Nitro Girls now. I mean,
And I mean, go ahead.
No, it's just pretty goofy to think about them, you know, like just dancing on the stage before the Nitro. I don't know. It worked, I guess.
I don't disagree. I thought, you know, I guess it's a product of its time, and that's something we've seen with us watching, you know, some of this old stuff. A lot of material that was just product of the time and place. But looking back, like, could you imagine social media, like Ring of Honor decides to have like a group of dancers start off a show? They'd go nuts. Like wrestling, like the internet wrestling community has no chill, and they would be like tearing them a new one, accusing them of sexist and it's out of place, has nothing to do with wrestling, yada yada yada. I think, maybe you're wrong, but that's what I think. So Nitro Girls, and part of the video package too, and this is important throughout the show, this is when Tank Abbott started getting involved in WCW, which I'm not a fan of Tank Abbott. I don't know about you, Joey, but I'm not.
No.
I think for me, the most entertained I was by anything he did in WCW was when he was rolling around with 3 Count, and he was their manager. He was funny. Other than that, like, Tank Abbott is like, I don't know. Don't like him.
No, I can care less for him, really.
So from there, I mean, it's a big crowd. It didn't look to me like a sellout crowd. I think they said 30-something thousand. There were some empty like spaces, but I mean, you would imagine, you know, an Astrodome. It's like if they had a WWE Raw at NRG Stadium, which is where the Texans play. Like, it's absurd. But anyways, going on to the show, they bring out Eddie Guerrero, who I think was coming off. He was recovering from a car accident, if I'm not mistaken. The car accident he had in '99. So they bring him out for commentary. People on commentary is Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan, who, I mean, for what it's worth, I always liked that combo, Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan. At this point, there had maybe been like 20-something minutes of show without a match happening. And I know we get that a little bit sometimes with Raw nowadays when we get like those long authority promos at the beginning, but not like this. I felt like it had been a good while before between the start of the show and an actual match. I don't know about you, Joe.
No, it definitely did drag out for quite a while before the first match actually did take place.
It in that, and I think that is, they had 3 hours and they were just trying to fill it with shit. And I mean, I love WCW. Don't get me wrong, but that's how it felt throughout several parts of the show, and that's how I can see that with Raw nowadays too, where people are like, why don't you just make it two hours of just like action versus like 3 hours that they have like videos and highlights and other stuff. Anyways, first match of the night, and by the way, Eddie Guerrero was rocking. He had like a sick ponytail braid type thing, which was kind of very 90s-y. But anyways, first match was Hack, aka Sandman, versus Billy Kidman. And that's weird. It's weird for me to think about Sandman as Hack, right?
No, I agree. I mean, I know him as the Sandman, and I mean Hack. I get they got to change the name and stuff like that, but I mean, what? I don't know where they came up with that one.
So it's Hack against Billy Kidman. Hack comes out with Chastity, who was Raven's sister. And I don't think they said it was a hardcore match, but I guess just because Sandman was in it, it was a hardcore match.
Yeah.
Because it was. It wound up being a hardcore match. Like, they brought out tables and all sorts of shit. And they had chairs and ladders and, even, I guess Shivani called it an extreme match. So they go back and forth. Nothing really eventful or of note, other than the ending, which Jimmy Hart and Hugh Morris attack Kidman, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes,
the ref calls for the bell, disqualifying Hack, which kind of confused me because if it is a hardcore match, that means no rules, right?
Right, you think so?
So I guess it's like weapons are okay, but not interference, which I thought was kind of weird. But this was a classic, WCW trying to get some of that ECW vibes and try to kind of make their product edgier. It was weird. It was a weird match. And then Brian Knobbs from the Nasty Boys comes out and he attacks Sandman, puts him through a table, beats him up. So then, again, a little bit more of a convoluted storylines of throwing people out there, and yeah, it was not a good match. I mean, it was not even entertaining. Which, like I said, I'm not looking for 5-star matches as people would rate them, or like all time classic matches in these shows, but at least entertainment,
Yeah, it definitely seemed like an odd match up. Hack versus Kidman, clash of weird styles. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
contrasting styles, anyway.
And then from there, and what I do like about what the WWE Network does, and I don't know if you caught this show, after that match, they showed a couple of commercials, and they showed one for the WCW Grip and Flip Wrestlers.
I wrote that down. Yeah.
Yeah, which I
Yeah.
thought was pretty appropriate for our show because we talked about gimmicks and we like gimmicks. So I think that was pretty cool, because they had that, and they kept one of the Macho Man Slim Jim commercials. So I thought that was pretty cool. I think those like flipping grip wrestlers are really kind of shitty, but as a kid, I thought they looked pretty cool.
Yeah. I think I had a few of those.
From there, and here's another theme of this episode of Nitro, there's a lot of promos, long promos. DDP comes out and he cuts a promo. With Bam Bam Bigelow, that's when they were doing their whole Jersey Connection thing. And uneventful. I mean, I didn't really care for it. Then the next match was again like random, super random pairing, I guess. Courageous, he used to be in, I think, a 3 count later. He becomes part of 3 count. And then Van Hammer, he used to do like the whole rock and roll guy type gimmick earlier. I don't know how he had stuck so long with WCW because he was like a jobber since like 95 or whatever. They have a match. Van Hammer wins with the Cobra Clutch. Nothing really eventful there.
No.
Right, Joey? I mean,
not too much to this point. I mean,
so at this point, we're like about an hour and change into the episode of Nitro. And this is where I'm like regretting the fact that I was the one who picked this. And I stepped out. I had to run errands, so I stepped out and I left Nitro at this point. But I'm like, with the burden, I'm like, shit, I got to go back home and finish it before we record. And I can see how they went out of business. You can compare like the Nitros from like '96 and '97, which had goofy moments, but not, but also had classic moments too. To this, where it's just been an hour, just really bad TV overall. And then we have a Piper cuts a promo about the 4 Horsemen. The 4 Horsemen kind of having Dean Malenko captive and holding him back. And Malenko comes out. It was an all right promo. I mean, I don't know. What you think about that?
pretty good. I mean, good to see Piper, in his prime. Well, I don't even know about his prime, but shit, 99 at that point. Probably not his prime, but yeah, good to see that. The whole Malenko and everything, and Malenko and the Piper stare down, and
well, at the end of it, Arn Anderson and Ric Flair come out, and I think at this point of the WCW timeline, Ric Flair was the president of the company, like the kayfabe president of the company. So Ric Flair and Piper start throwing down. They went at it. It was pretty cool. With Piper and Ric Flair, exchanging and some blows and fighting it out. Piper was always like, even remember that like he was one of the guys that stood up to like the NWO when they kind of came to prominence. So I mean, it was like you said, it's cool to see Piper. It's also cool, to see Ric Flair. I think at this point that might have been the best part of the show so far.
Yeah, I agree.
So from there, we finally get another match. And this is, they had announced it earlier, but it's Rey Mysterio with Conan when they were doing that filthy animals gimmick, which I hated. I hated it then. I hate it now. Like, they were trying so hard to be cool. And, back then, it was 1999, it was like 14, 13. You can see through it that they're trying so hard to be cool and be like, kind of like rapper type stuff. I never liked it, and they still don't like it. And they were up against Kurt Hennig and Bobby Duncombe Jr. This was when Kurt Hennig was doing that whole I hate rap gimmick, right?
Yeah, the old cowboy, I hate hip hop.
Yeah.
I hate rap. Yeah, that was pretty funny to see that. He tried actually earlier in the show. I think or maybe it was later. He started doing his little country gimmick song. But yeah, Bobby Duncombe Jr. Another. It was decent.
Yeah, I mean, they came out, getting well, first the Filthy Animals come out and they get the big pop, doing their whole spiel, Viva la Raza and Arriba la Raza or whatever. They come out in like these orange jumpsuit type, like prisoner jumpsuits. I don't know. Rey Mysterio, I love Rey Mysterio with the mask on. Rey Mysterio without the mask looks, he loses that
Yeah.
air of like the mask gives him a lot of appeal, whereas him without the mask, he looks like a kid.
Yeah, he
So,
really does.
and I think what you were referencing at the beginning of the match, Henning before the match starts, he grabs the microphone and he starts singing the Eyes of Texas, I think. And they get like drop kicked out of the ring. The match starts. It's pretty decent for what we had gotten at this point, wrestling wise, in terms of action. I felt because I mean we hadn't seen a lot of action. I think Conan, he was a pretty good wrestler back then. Rey Mysterio is always great. Kurt Hennig has been a great wrestler. So they had a pretty good match. Uh, the Filthy Animals wind up losing, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I think Duncan came in with the cowbell. He belts him with the cowbell and causes a DQ at
Right.
the end there.
Right, and this is the other thing that I noticed in this show. I don't think there was other than the Courageous Van Hammer match, I don't think there was a clean finish in the whole show. Oh, but Bagwell, we'll get to that. But there was a lot of interferences and DQs. Yeah, Duncan strikes one of the Filthy Animals with the cowbell, and they get DQ'd. And I mean, that's that. Like, I thought so far the match had been pretty decent for what we got, and then they end it with a DQ, and it is what it is. But action-wise, I think this was, to this point, the best match of the night so far. And then there's a Macho Man segment where they had been teasing that Kevin Nash was in the building and that he was going to fight Kevin Nash. And it wound up being a Kevin Nash imposter who was dressed in women's clothing with like a sash that said "Big Sexy" or something like that. And Macho Man wins. And I wasn't digging that Macho Man era where he was like a loose cannon type guy, you know?
Yeah, he was real intense, man. I mean, watching these promos and everything, it's almost scary and intense. I don't know, a little too intense.
He's always been pretty intense, but I think this was the WCW trying to rescue him in terms of his appeal. So they were like, he comes out with like the alt rock type music. I don't know if they changed the music because WWE changes the music. I don't remember what he had originally, but they usually keep it something similar. So it's like this alt rock type heavy Macho Man all black with choker chain and I don't know. I felt it was not his. It wasn't really him. I felt like in terms of his character, I felt it was something different. And unlike Hollywood, when Hollywood did it, he came off as like he was cool when and even when I go back and watch it, I still think Hollywood was pretty cool. I don't think I felt the same with how they tried to like modernize and the Macho Man. So I don't know. It was a little weird. I think there. Speaking of weird, the next match was super weird. which was Eric Watts, who I didn't even remember, but he looked like a Matt Hardy wannabe.
Yeah.
He had like the netting type shirt and the big like Jinko jean type pants. I don't know. He looked like he wanted to be Matt Hardy. And those were some shitty pants too. Up against David Flair. You remember David Flair?
Yeah. Good old David Flair.
Unlike Shane O'Mac, who was awesome, David Flair was super lame.
Yeah, he really was.
And David Flair, he did come out, and I had forgotten that she'd been in WCW for a minute with Tori Wilson.
Yeah, that's right.
I thought that was pretty cool. She was looking pretty good. So,
yeah, that was quite the outfit she had on there.
Yep. They get in a match. Eric Watts guy's beating the crap out of David Flair. They had already on commentary. Shivani was like, David Flair is only winning because of the help of the Horseman or whatever. And lo and behold, I think Tori or someone distracts the ref, and Arn Anderson comes out. Spybuster on Eric Watts, and then David Flair just turns around. Again, another super short match with a interference type finish, and that was pretty much that. You know, it's for us to say that the Filthy Animals and against Duncan and Henning was the best match so far. I mean, it really was. Like all these matches were pretty shitty, and I can deal with shitty, but give me something that at least will be entertaining. Like, might be a shitty match in terms of the wrestling, but if it's fun or entertaining, I'm all for it. So far, nothing happened. From there, we get a backstage promo, and this ties back into the videos with the highlights because there's a video of Macho Man beating the crap out of Buff Bagwell. He had beaten the crap out of what you call it, Disco Inferno and some others. Like trying to Inferno was saying that he's just trying to beat up the young guys or whatever. And there, Buff Bagwell's backstage in the office of the president of WCW, which is Ric Flair, who's there with the enforcer, Arn Anderson. And he's asking for a match against Macho Man. And I did like this segment. Because he goes up and then Ric Flair point blank is like, yeah, you're not in his league. It's gonna be an embarrassment if I'm gonna look bad if I send you out there against Macho Man. He kills you like he's been beating you up. I thought that was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty cool because Ric Flair was just chilling out, letting him know, yeah, you suck. Therefore, you're not gonna be able. I'm not putting you against Macho Man. So far with that segment, what do you think of it?
Crazy to see Buff Bagwell. I was always in the fence about him, I mean, he had a good look, good character. I just couldn't really get behind him too much, you know what I mean? But he wanted to prove that he was in the that Eaton was not in his league, you know what I mean? He wanted a match with Bobby Eaton.
And that's the thing. Like Ric Flair says, you know what? I've got a plan B. And Arn Anderson is like, yeah, let's tell him about plan B. Tell him about plan B. And he's like, I'm going to put you in a match against Bobby Eaton, one of the biggest stars of this generation. And it's funny because Buff reacts like, oh, like, who is Bobby Eaton? Who even is that guy? And then he's like, well, yeah, he's one of the biggest stars in this generation, but it looked like he was confused. And then, Ric Flair says, yeah, you need to go beat him, or I can even, consider you here. It's because I'm going to injure him or whatever. And Ric Flair's like, yeah, go do it. Do it. I want to see that. So, and poor Bobby Eaton. I remember Bobby Eaton when WCW, even before Nitro. Beautiful Bobby Eaton. I always thought he was super lame. He's a good wrestler, but his character never resonated, I guess, with me, or his look, or I don't know what it was. I think the only time I liked him was when he was the Earl of Eaton.
Yeah, I can't say I was too big of a fan of him either.
So yeah, that's they set that match up for later. Yep. Which whatever. We move on to the next match, and it's Ernest the Cat Miller with Sonny Ono. I will say, we talk about shitty stuff in terms of what's been going on with WCW this episode, but the cat entertains. He's an entertainer, and that's what I always liked about that. He was doing the James Brown dance, and he was entertaining at least to watch on TV. So I could deal with it. I could live with Ernest the Cat Miller on TV. And Scott Norton, who was part of like the NWO, I guess, Black and White. Again, short match, nothing really of too much worth, other than the backstage cutscenes where Virgil, or I guess Vincent, and Stevie Ray, and like the lame members of NWO, like watching the match and worrying about Ernest the Cat Miller is going to get destroyed by Scott Norton. And again, as to was the theme of this Nitro, Ernest the Cat Miller wins with a crowbar while the referee was distracted, and that's how the match ends. So, like so far, let's see how many DQs or interferences. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 5 matches had either didn't have a clean finish. So
that's lazy booking.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm not an expert in terms of like how to book a show, but it's bad, right? It's bad.
No, you can't do that.
And that was WCW in '99 when they were marching towards their demise, I guess. Yeah, it was bad, and then the shitty NWO members are like panicking because Norton's gonna freak out, and that was that. Then we got Bobby Eaton against Buff. Bobby Eaton, this is 1999, and his look was like if he was wrestling, he was working like the Carolinas in 1984, or like if he was working, Charlotte in '87. Like he's like straight up '80s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Like he's got the jacket with like the neon and the stars, and now comes Buff, and this was when Buff was wearing the top hat and like airbrushed gear. Yeah, this was at least there was a clean finish, and Buff won with the showstopper, I think, the blockbuster, something like that was his finisher, which was a kind of a from the top rope, kind of a reverse ace cutter kind of thing. Again, not really a good match. It was just more of putting Buff over and continuing his whole, trying to get at Macho Man. And yeah, this was a bad show. I know we said it at the beginning, but like going over my notes and just talking about it, there's not much to say. There's nothing like much that like, yeah, this was worth my time, right?
No, I agree, man. I mean, I'm trying to think of what it would be like watching it back then. I mean, I was probably watching WWF Attitude Era at that point.
Yeah, I think we were probably switching the channel.
Yeah.
So at this point, we've got like 2 more matches left in the show. The next match was DDP and Bam Bam Bigelow against Saturn by himself, because Chronic was in the hospital. This was pretty decent. The action was pretty decent.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Some good names in this matchup, at least, you know.
No, I think this match, it was pretty decent. Like, it was good in-ring storytelling. You know, good. Bam Bam he's a good performer. Saturn was good. DDP, you know, it was pretty good up until the finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the finish, you know, Saturn he's giving him hell. Good. So far, it's been a good match. And then Chronic comes out like to save the day because he's like getting whatever. And you know, Chronic's still with his like the hospital wrist, you know, the wristbands they put on you and all that stuff. And he's like asking for like the hot tag, and the crowd's into it. And at this point, you're like, yeah, Chronic's gonna come into the ring and just start kicking some ass. He gets the tag from Saturn and gets his ass knocked out by DDP. DDP punches him in the face, knocks him out.
Yeah, discus punch, knocks his ass right out for the pin.
Imagine being at the Astrodome after such a bad show, and you get this match that finally it's a pretty good match, and you get like, I know this is like 101, like, you know, the hot tag when the crowd's into it, and you get, you know, the hot tag, and the guy starts cleaning house. You know, they still do it to this day. Like, you watch NXT or you watch, you know, whatever, and that's still how you book a tag team match. I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, but at this point, the crowd was already into it. You got the run in from Chronic, and he gets knocked out with one punch. And I'm just sitting there like, how is this? And A, how is this entertaining? And B, I guess they're trying to like advance a storyline between Saturn and Chronic, and probably regarding how they're going to break up. But it was so anticlimactic, so bad, just bad.
Yeah, it was bad. New tag champs, right?
Yeah, new tag champs, DDP and Bam Bam, because Saturn was going to defend by himself.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was just like, that ending was laughable as to how bad that was. Okay, and then from there we get to our main event. Oh wait, before the main event, there's a little segment. Macho Man gets into his like limo with his three girls, like Gorgeous George and Medusa and whatever, and he's got a girl on his lap. He's like being all, you know, he's getting this whole I'm Macho Man, I've got all the girls type thing. And they're about to pull out of the garage when a truck cuts him off on the front, and then like a septic tank truck cuts him up to the side, and it's Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
Which I thought was at least funny. I'll give you that. And he pops out the car and like, you know, Macho Man, and they're like, it was some pretty bad. You know, hurry up. I don't know what they were thinking. And then Kevin Nash, he puts on his gloves, he connects the hose, he jumps on top of the car, rips off the what you call it, the retractable roof deal, and he starts pouring in like septic tank waste into the limo.
All over the girls' dresses and Macho, and that was a hell of a time for them in there.
And it looked kind of gross. I'm sure that, you know, I'm sure that's not that. It's probably something. Oh, water or something like they muddied the water on purpose or whatever. I'm sure it wasn't shit, but still, it looked super gross.
Yeah.
At least for effect, they got it right. And I mean, this was one of the staples of that era. You know, you had all the famous Stone Cold, you know, spots with vehicles and people filling up Vince McMahon's car with, you know, cement, and you had all these, you know, what was it? The one I think Stone Cold was in an ambulance, and like I think someone with a truck crashed it. Like all sorts of crazy vehicle type gimmick uh, segments. So this was cool. It was all right. I got a laugh out of it. It's okay. And then we get to the end of the show, and it's main event time. Sting against Rick Steiner with Tank Abbott as special guest referee, which they announced earlier in the show. And I had forgotten Rick Steiner was the champion, right?
Yeah, I think it was a TV title, right?
He was some sort of champion, but he had a belt, and he comes out against Sting. Sting's awesome. I have nothing to complain about Sting, at least in this show. And it gets into like the typical steel cage type match where there's some cage spots where they'll slam a guy, or Sting trying to do the splash and Steiner dodging it so he splashes against the cage. It was a pretty short cage match. Bobby Heenan tried his best to hype it up that no cage matches are the same. And I know this, talking about when he was a manager and all that stuff. And I was invested at this point. Like I was invested enough to care about what was going to happen at the end. And lo and behold, following suit with the theme of this Nitro, which is probably going to be reflected in the title of this episode. Tank Abbott gets involved, and he screws Sting over. Yeah. And there really isn't a winner, right? Because Tank.
No, I guess there really wasn't.
Because Rick Steiner doesn't pin him or get out of the cage. He just tapes his wrist to the ropes and starts beating him up as Tank Abbott walks away. And I think people like threw some beers or something at the cage because I saw like objects hit, and then Tank Abbott had he was drenched in something, probably beer. Bad match, bad ending, bad episode of Nitro. If I don't think anyone watched it from our Twitter followers, but if you guys did, I apologize.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Yeah, that was bad. But hey, that's the grab bag that is, retro wrestling.
Yeah,
that's a disclaimer. We'll pick an episode, and if you guys watch, I'll blame Vince Russo.
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna get, man. I mean, all in all, as a recap, it's like at this point you can tell the wrestling is kind of taking a backseat in WCW right now. All in all, and the cruiserweights seem to be done for by this point, which is disappointing. Feuds are being built pretty decently, but there seems to be a disconnect,
Right. I mean,
it's tough, man. I mean, there's just, like you were saying before, there's just so many guys. It's almost like they're just plugging people into scenarios that they might not be good for. And it's just like, you could tell it was on the decline at this point, definitely.
Yeah, it was just I don't know, like they were just trying to find something. They were trying to find something that struck a chord with the audience, and maybe would improve their rating. But yeah, you could tell they were dying a slow death at this point. I think retro wrestling wise and our podcast, it's the worst one we've watched. We even talked about no longer doing the 3 hour format nitros.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty bad. We don't know yet. So, and this brings me to for next week, we'll do a poll on the Twitter account, which is at Talkin Gimmicks. And we've picked 4 shows in 4 years, and we'll let you guys vote, and then we'll do that. So we're either going to watch an ECW TV episode from 2000, a Nitro episode from 1995, a Raw episode from 1997 or an NWA Wrestling episode from 1987. So we'll set that up on the Twitter account. You guys can vote, and then that's what we're going to watch for next week. And hopefully we'll be caught up with modern wrestling. I know I got Lucha Underground taped. I say taped, DVR'd. And I've got to catch up a little bit on some of the New Japan stuff and Raw. So hopefully we'll do that. But in the meantime, yeah, we'll do that. The other thing we're going to do is, since we're in the WrestleMania season, we haven't done a giveaway in a little bit. I'm going to give these guys a WrestleMania 3 mini Funko mini gimmick there. So we'll pick one winner. The winner will get both. And we'll set that up on the Twitter account. But basically, instead of a draw, what we're going to do is we just want to know. We'll send out a tweet with these, and then we'll just ask, what's your favorite WrestleMania moment? And then we'll pick a winner. Just we're not gonna do a draw. We're just gonna pick a winner based on what the answer, and it could be the most original or just whatever. If there's a little story behind it, go for it. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do with these guys, and we'll pick someone probably by the weekend. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, do you want
How long?
the answers emailed to us a little bit easier than Twitter? Because Twitter could be a little bit hectic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe. No, that's a good point. Yeah, we'll set it up in the tweet that the answers to be emailed, and then we'll pick what we think is the best answer. It could be something crazy or something that you were actually there, or a match that you watched. Favorite WrestleMania moment. And we'll probably, in the next one, we'll talk a little bit about our favorite WrestleMania moments as we get closer to that date. And then we'll give it what, a week or so? Probably give it a week.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we'll pick somebody next Sunday.
I'll tweet that out after we get off the air.
Yep. So this just again, reminder, at Talkin Gimmicks, follow us for all sorts of gimmick related and wrestling related stuff. We'll probably post this. We'll post the show there too, and that'll link back to our YouTube account, which is also at Talkin Gimmicks.
Yeah,
Talkin Gimmicks on YouTube. And then that's about that. Joey, anything else you want to cover or plug before we call it a night?
Let's see here. Just Tag World Grand Prix CHIKARA. They announced that the other day. I know we got a little tease. We thought it was going to be a King of Trios announcement, so we could start booking plans for our annual meetup. But they announced Tag World Grand Prix. I think that's going to be in April in Philly, I believe. I'm probably not going to be able to make it.
Tag World Grand Prix. When they announced that, I know I tweeted it out when they just announced the tease. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start looking for, gonna have to start booking our trios. It wasn't trios. They're bringing back Tag World Grand Prix, which I think is cool. It's gonna be at the Wrestle Factory in Philly in April. I'm definitely not going because if I want to go to King of Trios, I already got a bunch of trips this year, so I need to save my vacation days, or I won't have a job.
No, you got to worry about that.
But I'll definitely pick it up from Chikaratopia once it's out. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool that they're bringing it back. Hopefully they'll announce King of Trios soon. Because that way I can, especially for people, a lot of people, and we've noticed over the years going to trios, there's a lot of people from out of the north, from outside of the northeast part of our country who travel there. We got
Yeah.
people from Texas, from the West Coast, Midwest. So a lot of people need to figure out how they're gonna vacation is and all that. So hopefully they'll announce it soon. Or we might start worrying that they might be a King of Trios, and Chikara's pulled out all the stops before. So
Yeah, last year they said it was gonna be the last year, like they say every year. So I don't believe it, but one thing I do hope is that it's in Easton, because I mean, just based on the size alone, it can hold a lot of people. Because I was thinking, because I listened to an interview with Quack, and he said that the main reason to have the Wrestle Factory is to kind of save money, you know what I mean, on renting out buildings. But as far as trios, they're going to need something a lot bigger than the Wrestle Factory.
yeah, that is true. I mean, it'll probably be Easton, or I wouldn't be shocked if they have it in DC.
At the ECW arena?
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked just because they've been running a lot of Philly stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind Easton. I mean, Easton has grown on me. It's a weird ass town, but we
I
go to
like it.
Wawa. Yeah, we go to the shows. We go to Wawa. We hang out with the people we meet. Like last year we had some beers and hung out with Lou. And you remember Lou?
Yeah, Lou, man, taking all the pictures. Shout
Yeah,
out Lou,
Lou.
man. Give me a
Shout out
shout
to
out.
Lou.
Hell yeah. I wish we could
Shout out
track
to
him
Lou.
down.
I have him on Facebook. We should invite him.
Okay, cool.
That is a man. If that is a man who has gimmicks, tons of gimmicks.
He's seen some stuff, man. I'll tell you.
Like, yeah, he's got all sorts of stuff, and I think it would be pretty entertaining. Yeah, he added me on Facebook, so we have him on Facebook. We might bring him out to one of the shows, maybe invite him to one of the shows and have him talk about it, because he collects all sorts of stuff. So
Cool.
it'd be interesting. But yeah, Talkin Gimmicks, hit us up, get us questions, anything's welcome. Pictures, tweet us, your collections, whatever you have. We'll be giving these guys away in the upcoming week as kind of a WrestleMania themed little giveaway. And that's a wrap. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next time.